So what you did earlier was you washed all the pots off and then you've had them outside drying. These ones I washed the other day. You have to be careful with oil, soaps. They can cause a resist, so when you touch it, it won't make the water stick. So whenever I wash them, I put on a newspaper, I put them somewhere where they're just by themselves. These ones already predetermined the color. These are kind of like, I picked the color right here. So you're gonna get water on the top because it settles, it's a sediment. It's clay, some pieces of clay are heavier. Without telling anything about the glaze when you walk in, it's you're gonna mix it. So just power tool, mixer, your choice of mixer. If I haven't used the glaze for a little while, I'll stick my hand in there to make sure there's all the glaze is up. If you walk away, glaze again or mix again, because if you give it a couple minutes to settle, that's your color, that's your colorant, it all just kind of moves down. I like the muriatic acid, so it makes it a little bit more suspended. So all the glazes have it in it, so there's a chance it could be all right. Since I know the glaze is settling, all the glazes here I mix with just regular tap water. So if I walk away, do something else, I mix. How thick is the glaze and how do you know how thick it is? I mix it, stick my finger in. Majority of glazes here, I like it where you can see detail, but it still covers your finger. If it's, some glazes here like to be where you can't see any detail, and it's okay. This one I know if you put it on too thick, will run. Some glazes like the clear, it should be thinner than this. So you learn about your glazes, you play safe where you check your glazes. So all of these ones. If you know your glazes, it's one pencil width. You can do this now, or you can do it after you glaze it, and that'll give you a gap from the pot to the shelf so it doesn't run off. It still can run off, but you give yourself a chance to wipe something to that level, so you can have some assurance that you might not drip on it.
Can you use wax resist before?
You can use wax resist. I try to steer away from it. I had a glaze. That I tried it on, and I got it on the wrong spot, and it got on like a section. And I had to take a blowtorch, or like it's a propane torch, and burn it off, and it cracked my piece. And for me, I was like, I didn't really want to deal with the wax after that. So I just learned how to clean really well, and yeah. It's not that it doesn't work, but sometimes it gets in the glaze and then someone will get a bare spot. So I just try and avoid it. But everybody's different. So I like to make that mark after it's glazed, and you know where to clean. So I'll show that too. So sometimes we get distracted, we're doing other things, and then we walk away for a second and we dip and we wonder like why we get like watermarks. So I mix. And then pretty much set up to, so this one is going to be silky green all the way. I like the white side out, so that east to west. Watch out where you grab it. These are really sharp, so you can pinch them, you can snap them. So because of the size of this, you can't get it in there comfortably. when it touches, that can leave a bare spot. So we're gonna have to do it the other way. So you're holding it, it starts to settle. That's where all your color and that's where all your glass goes. So you kind of set yourself with the best possible outcome, which is just mixed. I like to take a little bit off. And then as it's in the liquid state, set it down. And then we don't touch it till it's dry to the touch, and then we can move it. And I don't smudge any kind of scrapes. I don't do it while it's still wet. And that'll save you a lot of headache because then it's wet and it moves like sand and it like spreads apart. So as it's, you can see it's almost dry right now, but there's still moisture in there. So I wait until it's fully dry and then I'll wipe it across because then it becomes more like a powder.
Yeah.
And that powder goes over better.
But you only need to dip it once, though.
For that one, yeah. You can go a thicker coat.
Okay.
Always be mindful, especially when you're doing white glazes. Like this little build up or could affect, like if it was a blue or a black, it could affect your colors. So always clean your stuff. I just always do it as I go. Especially in the studio setting, like things, we just have to be mindful. So this piece, I'm going to mix it again. And you can read articles about glazes in the bottle, about how if you don't mix as you brush on, it will give you, can also give you a different color. The way the fluid works in this one is you have to give it a little bit of outward direction, and then you give it 360. And this one's going to be a 3/4 dip. If you turn this over right away, you'll have more droplets. So for this one, I'm just going to follow that same line. Now it's done. So it's minimal cleanup. When this one has cleanup, I just take the sponge, I keep it flat, keep the pot flat, I just rotate. And just by keeping that amount of pressure equal as you turn, you get a nice clean edge. Just 360, 360. You don't do it upside down because you'll get a watermark, you'll have some weathering. I just take a little corner, nice and clean. Now if your glaze is too thick, you can add a little bit of water. This is pretty good just because of how I dip my finger in it. I know that this glaze, if it's thick, it will run. But on average, it should be slightly watery so you have some hang time inside the glaze. I tend to work light to dark. So you can see this is a really nice green. One layer will be that light green, and then the double layer will be this green. And if you just look at your test file, you'll see like what gravity does. So you see how it's whiter right there because heat and gravity in the kiln. I always go by what the test file says compared to what like the bucket says. So this is 1, 2, and 3 coats. Clean this. I usually keep a bucket a little bit closer. So most of these glazes I picked out, they're going to be dark anyway, so going from green to blues is okay, but if you're going black to white, if you're doing a series of things, the ingredients or the colorants that make black are more stronger and they will affect the white more than a white glaze that affects dark. So it's just something to think about.
You mean just for handling if you get like a little spot or something?
Spots, yeah, it'll kind of tone down your level of white, which is you don't want to have to replace the whole bucket, and that's what it kind of gets to. So I'm going to do one in here. Make sure it fits nice. So you want to be nice and comfortable when you're doing this. You don't want to be at odd angles. I like to go in, out, so you pour in, pour out, and then set it down. So a little bit to the side. Same room. Mix. And then the secondary layer, because there were 3 on that test tile, I'm going to do that in the other direction, which is face down like here. There'll be more blue towards the top. When you're holding these, if you hold it at the bottom, you'll get less span. If you hold it towards the middle or where it actually moves, you actually get more control. So, I wait until they dry to the surface, and I'll clean them. Enough water to squeeze out. Oh, let me show you the pencil again. Okay. Pencil down. Now, if you know your glaze, it's 1. If you don't know your glaze, it's 2 pencil widths. So I'm gonna say I don't know the glaze. So that's a maybe line. Not that it still can't run and get on your shelf, but that at least helps. If you know your glaze, then you just clean that line. The pencil's not going to stay in there. It's not something that goes high enough to stay. Wax can take a little while because you have to brush it on, then it has to dry. So you can get that nice and clean and you got your gap. If I'm going to go taller, I put my finger down, put the sponge on top of it, and then angle down until I hit that line. And then I'll use that as my gapper. Angle down. Then you can get whatever gap you want. That's kind of like your stopper. So you can get anything you want. Turn it around to get it cleaner. Then you don't have to look. Let's get another clean spot. Finger down. If you want to just glaze the inside, you would do like I did here. I'm going to show you. Mix. Take it for some of those pieces along the way. Every piece. I'm going to pour it inside. And you're going to give it a little bit of outward direction. And you just turn 360. I'm going to do the lip of this anyways. So I'll give it a little more blue. Some glazes will pinhole like that. I think it's case by case, but when it becomes fully powder and fully dry, then you can rub it. Like you can get it, it's not too dry for too long. Like overnight, you can come back and make it smooth. I don't find too much of a difference whether they have the pinholes because it's going to be in a melted state with the kiln. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. That's glazing.